All right, so number 9, let's read this one. So we've got the diagram, and they kind of set things up for us, but it would be helpful for us to know what it is everything kind of refers to. So they're telling you that you've got a cell phone tower. So here's your cell phone tower right here, and you can see it's the vertical side of this little right triangle right here. All right, and a guy wire attached to the top of the tower, that's right here, the top of the tower, makes an angle of 65 degrees with the ground. So this is the wire, and there's that 65-degree angle with the ground there. Okay, and then from a point on the ground 100 feet from the end of the guy wire, there's an angle of elevation. So this is 100 feet, and then there's an angle of elevation, that would be this, this angle right here of 32 degrees. And they want you to find the height of the tower. So this is really what we're looking for here. Okay, so why don't we call that x? Makes sense, right? All right, now we have been doing law of sines, but we kind of have a problem here because all I have in here is, well, this is 65 and this is 90. I mean, I could subtract and get what this angle is up here, but look, I don't have any sides in this triangle at all. So if you're going to do law of sines, you usually at least have to have a side, and we don't. However, in this triangle over here, I do have a side. And I kind of know all the angles in this triangle, even though they only gave me one, because what do you know about these two angles right here? Aren't they supplementary to one another? They lie in a straight line, so they should add up to 180 degrees. So if I know this one, I can subtract it from 180 and get this one. And then once I know this one, I can add it with this one and get that one. Okay, so what I want you to do is take a minute, find out this angle, and find out this angle. Okay, so this is what I have for those two angle measures. I just couldn't really squeeze them in without you being able to see them. So, all right, so anyway, so if I know those angles, could not I find the length of this side right here? Now, this side, if you look at it, it's part of this triangle here on the left, and I know all of the angles and one of the sides. So I could do law of sines in this triangle. And if I do that, that's going to give me this side. So you may ask yourself, well, how does that help me? Well, because, hello, isn't this side also a side of this triangle over here on the right? So I'm going to do law of sines once, twice, and then that will give me this answer. Okay, so if you're a little iffy about what I'm talking about, let's see what happens here. So let's start with the triangle on the left. So I'm going to pick a side. Let's watch and see what happens. And I'm going to use the sine of the angle opposite that, which is 33, right? Okay, equals. Then I am going to pick another side, which I don't know, but I am going to use y. Now, when I say y, I'm talking about this side right here. Always use the shared side between these two triangles, okay? Because, again, this shared side is a side on both of those triangles. All right, so then the angle opposite that is 32. So we're going to write the sine of 32. Okay, so let's just kind of proceed like we would normally do. So we're going to do y times the sine of 33 equals 100 times the sine of 32. And then I'm going to divide out the sine of 33. And I'm going to work that out in my calculator, and that gives me 97.2973, and it keeps going. Now listen, please be very, very careful. This is not our final answer. Don't round it. It's not the final answer. Do not round this answer. Okay, so now what I am going to do, though, is now I know that this side right here is 97 and change, and I know the angle opposite it. And look, I'm looking for this side, and I know the angle opposite it. So I'm going to do law of sines again.
Just quick announcement.
All right, so let's set it up. So I'm going to have x over the sine of 65 equals, technically it's y, but we know y is 97.2973, blah, blah, blah. It keeps going, I know. And that's going to be over the sine of 90, right? Just keep that 97 point blah, blah, blah in your calculator. All right, let's cross multiply. So I get x times the sine of 90. And ladies and gentlemen, don't we know that the sine of 90 is 1? So really, this would really just be x, wouldn't it? Because this is just a 1. All right, and then when we cross multiply the other way, we're going to get the sine of 65 degrees, right? And we're going to multiply it by that 97.2973, so on and so on. Okay, so really that's all you're putting in your calculator. And you should get 88.1813. That's a 1. And we are rounding this to the nearest foot, so that's going to be 88 feet. That would be the height of our tower. All right, so take a second and read through number 10 on your own if you didn't already. You can pause me. And you can see that I just labeled what they gave me. Okay, and they want the height of the cliff. Guys, this is very similar to the last question. So remember what I said in the last question. If you look at this, I'm looking at this triangle. This is what I need to find, and I know nothing in here in terms of a side, and I need to have a side to do law of sines. So you guessed it, we're going to find the side that's shared by this triangle here on the left and this triangle here on the right, and we're going to do law of sines twice. Okay? All right, so let's start with, I'm going to call that y, and I would like you to find all the other angles in that triangle on the left. So this one here is going to be 25 degrees, and this one down here is 135, because remember 135 and 45 there are going to add up, these two right here will add up to 180 degrees. All right, so let's set up law of sines on the left triangle. So I'm going to pick a side, which is 30, and the angle opposite that would be the sine of 25, right? And then I'm going to pick the side that's shared by both triangles and the angle opposite that, which is 30 degrees. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply that. So y times the sine of 25 equals 30 times the sine of 30. And then we are going to divide out the sine of 25. And then you're going to throw that all into your calculator that is in degree mode, and you should get 35.4930. And what should you not do right now? Don't round it. It's not your final answer. All right, so now let's go to the triangle on the right. So I have side y, right? It's 35.4930, blah, 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 blah. And the angle opposite that is 90, so sine of 90. Okay, and I'm looking for h, which is that vertical side there, and the angle opposite that is 45, so sine of 45. So I've got h times the sine of 90. Now remember, sine of 90, you should know that's just a 1, so I don't really need to write it. You can, but you don't really need to. So really all I'm doing then is I'm going to take the sine of 45, and I am going to multiply that by 35.4930, blah, 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 what you have in your calculator there. Okay. When I do that, I got 25.0973. And we want this to the nearest foot again. So 25 feet. That's the height of the cliff. There you go.